There's a widespread misconception that persists today. Individuals seeking solitude are often labeled antisocial or lonely, struggling to relate to others. But what if reality is the polar opposite? Research in behavioral psychology offers clues. There is a specific group of people. Their neural pathways function distinctly. They don't lack social skills, nor the ability to communicate effectively. They simply choose to dedicate more time to their rich internal worlds. If you prefer solitude for specific activities, not due to social rejection, but because you genuinely prefer it, you might possess a rare intellect. I'm not talking about a massive IQ score or straight A grades, not even the precocious skills of a child prodigy. I refer to something much more subtle, a profound hidden reservoir of wisdom. You might not have recognized it until now. Today, we explore 7 specific behaviors displayed by people with rare intelligence, only when they are alone. Stay with us until the very end. The 7th point will fundamentally shift how you perceive your own personality. Point number 1. Maintaining patience with difficult questions. Reflect on a truly complex dilemma, perhaps a major professional shift, or a friction point in a relationship, even a polarizing news event online. What's the typical human reaction? Generally, it's a sense of panic. Our biological systems despise ambiguity. Unclear circumstances feel like a threat. To soothe this internal tension, survival instincts urge us to grab the first plausible explanation or adopt the majority's opinion to feel secure and move on. However, you operate differently. In your moments of solitude, you contradict that basic human drive. You allow the question to remain unanswered. You refuse shallow explanations just to feel better. You rotate the issue over and over, examining every possible perspective. You endure the restless, itchy sensation of not having a solution yet. Psychologically, this is cognitive patience. Why is this such a rare quality? Holding an open question is like carrying a heavy physical weight in your mind. The brain wants to drop that burden as quickly as possible for relief. But if you coexist with uncertainty for days or even weeks without rushing to a conclusion, you build immense mental stamina. This doesn't imply indecisiveness. The distinction is crucial. Instead of the quickest answer, you wait for the most comprehensive one. Analyzing problems independently proves your mind isn't dictated by short-term anxiety. You construct a solid intellectual foundation. Choices born from deep insight, rather than frantic haste. Point number 2. Challenging your own personal beliefs. We live in an era where everyone protects their ego. People consume media to reinforce existing thoughts. This is known as confirmation bias. Most people spend private time reinforcing their own rightness, comforting their pride, rehearsing clever insults for arguments. Yet, if you have deep intelligence, your behavior when alone is opposite. You don't flatter yourself. Instead, you interrogate yourself. You adopt the perspective of someone who completely disagrees with you to see if your logic has cracks. You ask, what if I am wrong? Is there proof my perspective is flawed? Researchers call this active self-criticism. It's a difficult path to take. Admitting beliefs are incorrect feels painful, but you do it instinctively, in quiet, without anyone prompting you. Point number 3. Converting your emotions into useful data. Every human being experiences a range of emotions. We all feel sorrow, frustration, happiness, and envy. Naturally, when these feelings become intense, we can easily become their prey. When we are angry, we might shout or act out physically. When we are bored or depressed, we might spiral into a dark mood. Reacting to feelings automatically is the standard human condition. But for you, when the world goes quiet, or you are in your own space, you handle your emotions in a very rare way. You do not just experience them, you decode them. When a wave of anger hits, you do not immediately fire off a defensive text message. You pause, detach yourself from the feeling, and ask, wait a moment. What is this sensation actually telling me? Why is my reaction so intense? Is it truly about what was just said? Or am I carrying stress from work yesterday? Behavioral experts refer to this as emotional differentiation. It is the ability to pinpoint and accurately label the specific internal state you are experiencing, rather than using vague descriptions like, I feel bad or I am annoyed. You act like a forensic investigator, looking for the origin of every psychological pulse in your body. Why does this habit indicate a deep intellect? Because when you view emotions as data points to be analyzed, rather than storms to be endured, you reclaim your power. You understand that feelings are merely signals, indicating that something is occurring. When you spend time alone dissecting these signals, you stop being a servant to your impulses. Silence allows you to see yourself with clarity. And from that place, you can respond with maturity and composure rather than reacting on pure instinct. Point number 4. Reevaluating the meaning of your past experiences. Memory is a peculiar tool. Often, we look back at the past just to wallow in nostalgia or to punish ourselves for old errors. For many, the past is a finished film, something they watch repeatedly just to experience regret. But when you are by yourself, perhaps while doing chores, showering, or driving a familiar route, your brain is not just replaying old footage. It is actively re-editing the script. Suddenly, you recall a piece of criticism a mentor gave you years ago. At the time, it felt like an attack. But now, with more life experience, you realize, I see now, they were actually right. Or you think back to a failed romance, and instead of pointing fingers, you recognize your own dysfunctional habits. This mental process is known as cognitive flexibility. It demonstrates that your brain does not store memories in a rigid, unchangeable format. Instead, it is constantly weaving past events together with new wisdom from the present. You do not use your history as a whip to punish yourself. You use it as a tool to refine your perspective. This is a brave act. Admitting that your past self was naive or biased does not feel pleasant, but you do it privately, without needing external validation. You are the director of your own story, patiently reorganizing the scenes of your life to give even the painful moments a deeper and more constructive meaning. This capacity for self-healing is a hallmark of high intelligence. Point number 5. Pursuing interests that seem useless but are meaningful. In a world that prizes constant productivity and financial success, every action we take seems to require a practical goal. People read to learn how to make money, study languages for career advancement, and watch tutorials to build their personal brands. For most, curiosity is a transaction. If I give this my time, I must get a tangible return. So, why are you awake at 2 a.m., reading about the complex nervous system of an octopus, or watching a long documentary on the sewage systems of ancient Rome? You are not a biologist, nor are you a civil engineer. This information won't lead to a promotion, help you pass an exam, or even provide much cool trivia for social gatherings. Your reason for doing it is much simpler. Your mind is hungry. It has a craving for knowledge. In psychology, this is referred to as intrinsic motivation. This is the state where you engage in an activity purely for the internal satisfaction of learning, free from external pressure or prizes. This useless curiosity is actually the engine behind some of the most innovative minds in history. The disparate, unplanned fragments of information you gather will eventually link up in your subconscious, leading to creative solutions for entirely unrelated problems. The fact that you find joy in learning while alone, regardless of its profitability, shows that your mind is not trapped by the mundane world. Your brain is a self-sustaining playground of ideas. Point number 6. Refining your thoughts in real time. Most individuals, once they have formed a judgment, will cling to it until the bitter end. Like a vehicle that has picked up too much speed. Going downhill, cognitive momentum makes it very difficult for them to stop. They fear losing their social standing or being viewed as inconsistent. Consequently, they would rather defend a flawed position than admit they made a mistake in their reasoning. However, you have a unique ability. When you are talking to yourself, you might be working through a problem, building a solid case in your head, when suddenly a new fact occurs to you, and you stop. Instantly, you tell yourself, wait, that logic is flawed. My premise here is wrong. And you immediately pivot. This transition happens effortlessly. There is no ego-driven tantrum, no sense of embarrassment, no need to protect your past self. You do not care about being consistent for its own sake. You only care about being accurate. Psychologists call this metacognitive flexibility. It is the skill of watching your own thought patterns and correcting them as they happen. Interestingly, schools rarely teach this, and many workplaces don't value it because they prefer people who project unwavering confidence. But in your private moments, you have mastered the art of setting aside your ego to find the truth, the willingness to be wrong for a moment, in order to be right in the long term, is a superpower that prevents you from becoming stuck in your own rigidity. Point number 7. Being your own best company. This is the final and perhaps most important point. It is the clear line that separates being lonely from choosing solitude. Modern life is engineered to fragment our focus. Devices, social platforms, and the endless cycle of news bombard us from dawn until dusk. Many people are terrified of silence. They cannot endure sitting in a quiet room without background noise, television, or a companion. To them, stillness feels like a void. They feel a constant need to stay busy or keep their eyes glued to a screen, just to fill the mental space. You, however, are different. Taking a walk in nature without your smartphone does not feel like a chore. It feels like a gift. Sitting quietly with a cup of coffee. Doing absolutely nothing. No reading, no music. Just observing the thoughts that drift by gives you a profound sense of tranquility. It feels like returning home. In psychology, this is known as autonomous cognitive engagement. It means your internal life is rich and interesting enough to generate its own fulfillment. You do not need to import noise from the outside world to feel okay. We have now covered all 7 characteristics. How many descriptions made you stop and think? That describes me perfectly. These traits are not loud or obvious. They manifest in the quiet corners of your life. During late-night commutes, in empty rooms, or during those hours when you are awake, while the world sleeps, requiring no applause. The people around you might not see the complex machinery of your mind, but that doesn't make it any less significant. We point out these signs not to suggest superiority. Life is not a competition of who is the smartest. The true goal here is self-awareness and self-acceptance. You have likely spent a lot of time wondering, why do I prefer my own company? Why don't I like loud social scenes? Why am I always overthinking things? Now you have an answer. That quiet nature, that depth of thought, and those unique interests are not defects. They are the evidence that your mind is working at a high level every single day. In its own way, it is molding you into a person who knows how to question themselves, who isn't easily swayed by the crowd, and who has the depth to be kind to both themselves and the world. True intelligence reveals itself in those absolutely quiet moments when the rest of the weary world stops looking. The solitary habits you once thought were strange are actually the silent foundation of a profoundly beautiful mind. You no longer have to feel guilty for seeking isolation just to process the sheer depth of your thoughts. Your rich internal world is not a flaw to be cured, but a private sanctuary to be fiercely protected. What is one quiet activity you do completely alone that gently brings your tired spirit back to life? If this resonated with you today, then leave a gentle thought below so someone else feels truly seen. May you always find peace within the boundless universe of your own wonderful mind.